The conversation between the Polish President Karol Nawrocki and Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski, which lasted for over an hour, mainly concerned the conflict over ambassadorial appointments. The meeting between Minister Radosław Sikorski and President Karol Nawrocki took place in a positive, constructive atmosphere, in a spirit of understanding. We are moving towards finding a solution to the circumstances facing both sides. We hope to see the results in the near future. So far, neither side has been willing to make concessions on this issue. A compromise is obviously necessary because today, from a global perspective, we are dealing with very intense diplomacy, with various puzzles, and now the passivity of Polish diplomacy or inaction is weakening our country. Negotiations and talks on this matter have been going on for some time. Some preliminary arrangements were made there, the result of which was to be recorded in a letter from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to the President. Unfortunately, the letter that ended up on the President's desk did not correspond to these preliminary arrangements. On the contrary, it completely contradicted the arrangements that the President had made with the Minister. The conflict over ambassadorial appointments between the government and the presidential palace dates back to March 2024. At that time, the Minister of Foreign Affairs dismissed more than 50 ambassadors. He also withdrew several candidates nominated by the previous leadership of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. These changes were opposed by the Polish president at the time, Andrzej Duda. Ambassadors are proposed by the government and there is a whole procedure, but the decision rests with the Polish president, and here indeed I am very happy that President Karol Nawrocki is ruthlessly enforcing the Polish president's will in this matter. To replace diplomats who left their posts but were not formally dismissed, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs sent its representatives without ambassadorial status, so-called chargé d'affaires. During his election campaign, President Karol Nawrocki strongly opposed the nominations of Bogdan Klich, who is acting as head of the Polish embassy in Washington, and Ryszard Szniep, chargé d'affaires in Italy. Poland must be represented with dignity on the international stage. Bogdan Klich was a Minister of National Defense during Donald Tusk's first term in office. It was during his tenure that the plane crash occurred, killing Polish President Lech Kaczynski and a large part of the Polish elite. Despite the threat from Russia, Klich also liquidated units of the Polish army. The 12 garrisons we have today are what remains of the 120 or so that we have disbanded over the last year and a half. President Andrzej Duda also did not sign Bogdan Klich's nomination. They want to send the guy who was the Minister of National Defense at the time, that is, the person responsible for the Polish army, to the United States. It will be one big joke. Klich also discredited himself as a would-be diplomat. Donald Trump does not fully understand the concept of international security. This is what Bogdan Klich wrote about Donald Trump after the end of his first term in the White House. Let us remember that according to law and justice, friendship with this unstable politician who does not respect democracy was supposed to be a guarantee of Poland's security. A politician so harmful to Poland's national interests cannot represent Poland in the United States. That is why today I declare I will not sign Bogdan Klich's nomination as ambassador of the Republic of Poland to the United States. Ryszard Szniep, on the other hand, never distanced himself from or condemned his father, a communist criminal. Maximilian Szniep was jointly responsible, among other things, for the Augustów Roundup, also known as the Little Katyn. According to various sources, between 600 and 2,000 Poles, activists of the independence and anti-communist underground, were killed in it. President Nawrocki cannot agree to the candidacy of Szniep or Klich. The latter, in particular, has terrible relations with the United States administration, and as a candidate for Polish ambassador to the United States, he is simply incapable of doing any good. He is not even able to contact important people in that country. The second, equally important topic of conversation between President Karol Nawrocki and Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski was to be Poland's participation in the Peace Council. Although Poland is one of the first countries invited to join this initiative by President Donald Trump, Donald Tusk's government is skeptical about it. President Karol Nawrocki is considering Poland's participation.